Alternative Media here, and we're joined by Mark Gonzalez over at First National Bullion. And there is a major retail apocalypse taking place right now, and we need to talk about it because it signifies something incredible. Daily Mail reports wildly popular U.S. discount chain with 20,000 stores announces mass closures as retail apocalypse spreads. We'll go into that in a moment. Of course, there's over 15,000 popular stores closing during retail apocalypse. This out of Forbes. Twice as many stores in the U.S. are expected to close in 2025. And just to go over some of them, I mean, what we're seeing what we saw in 2023 with McDonald's was they closed all of their corporate offices in the United States. Well, now we're seeing the effect with both AI, which I have reported on recently. If you want to check out our video, McDonald's AI takeover, which I find extremely important, but also, despite all that, the prices are still going up. It says your Big Mac is about to get much more expensive as McDonald's menu prices set to skyrocket. All the while, another place that is considered cheap but no longer, Dollar General CEO reveals alarming change in consumer behavior. We are not anticipating improvement, he says, as we see them announce mass closures. And we're talking a huge number, 96 of their stores and 45 locations under its Pop Shelf brand as well. And on top of that, we are seeing fast fashion clothing stores filing for bankruptcy again. Massive liquidation sales. We have award-winning beauty brand files Chapter 11 bankruptcy. That's SBLA Beauty. We have Joanne, which a lot of people go to for fabrics, for example, is delivering stinging final blow to loyal shoppers as it closes all its stores. Incredibly upsetting, it says. And of course, all the while, as we see the plague of inflation hit so many people, major bank with thousands of locations sparks fears after abruptly closing 38 branches. So we're seeing a lot of bank closures, and that's really picking up again, as we reported on. This is TD Bank, to be clear, Toronto Dominion. And of course, this retail apocalypse has been happening for a long time, but now we're seeing it take off like a rocket. So we're going to go into what that means for you, why that affects you, because it does, and how that affects your bank account. Before we get into it, I urge you to check that link in the description for firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/. It has to be that exact link. And you can avoid the CBDCs to come, avoid the digital IDs to come, get your money protected. Check it out, and you can buy physical gold, silver, platinum, or palladium. You can put the gold in your hands, put it in a vault, put it in an IRA outside of that traditional IRA system. I urge people to take this seriously. Schedule an appointment for a free consultation with Mark Gonzalez and a complimentary investor package with that as well. And in the comments of the forum, let him know that you found him at World Alternative Media, or WAM, WAM. Now, let's get into this. This is important, Mark. We are seeing the effects of inflation really stinging so many consumers right now, and it's evident across the board, and I think it's indicative of where we're heading, because a lot of these businesses are going to go under. We're going to see a lot of the older brands go down, and also just in general, we're seeing employment plummet with that. Obviously, then AI comes in, and in comes digital IDs, universal basic income, all the wet dreams of the World Economic Forum. But what we're seeing right now with the consumer, the average consumer, they're not buying as much stuff because they don't have as much money. And why is that, Mark? Why do people just not have enough money to go out and buy things at McDonald's of all places?
Well, because a Big Mac isn't $1.50, $2, it's now $10 plus. We're in contraction. Only under the Biden administration, for reasons everybody can try to figure out for themselves, that they changed the benchmark of recession with 2 down quarters. And then the Fed just recently announced that, the happenstance of recession going in 2025 has gone from about 20% to nearly 50%. And we're going into negative GDP growth. So people are just being squeezed. I mean, it's really difficult to survive out there. I know even here in Mexico at the stores I like to go to, I mean, I'm paying US prices. There's restaurants, obviously, you can go to, and for a total of, $12, you can get an extremely awesome meal. But that's here, it's not there. So people are getting squeezed to death. I mean, delinquencies on credit cards, on car payments, on house payments, all these things are rising. So these are things that are tying together what we've been talking about. It's domino after domino of how this thing is going to start to fall. And it's one of the heavy liftings, just to remind everybody, discharging the becoming bankruptcy of the US dollar is a good old-fashioned market crash. You rinse out the debt, you put it on the people that were in the market, and then those buddies for governments, for tech, for pharmaceuticals, they of course get bailed out, but your bank doesn't get bailed out; it gets bailed in. A good way to rationalize this to yourself on the illusion of the dollar is something I'd like everybody to do. And if you reach out to me personally, I'll do this with you, as I learn just as much from people that reach out to me as they probably learn from me. But if you remove the actual dollar from the price point of many of the goods and services or global commodities that you could buy, you're going to find out that the same amount of gold or silver over the course of thousands of years, centuries, it still equates to the same value, right? So everything else is just illusion. Just to remind everybody, when you go into these market crashes, it generally comes back up in the same denominated currency of the U.S. dollar, but this time we're going to be flipping the switch and going to digital, and you're going to get a valuation. So,
well, and I want to add to that for a moment, because what we're seeing right now with the Fed's making a decision tomorrow on interest rates, which of course by tomorrow it's the day you're watching this, filmed the day before. But I want to point out though that on top of that, there's what we've seen in the past with the old-fashioned market crashes. We have the plunge protection team come in and basically artificially prop up the system. And of course, we're seeing everything is very manipulated to begin with. It's all spoofed. And we're seeing a lot of the cratering of the market that one would expect before the downfall. And then, of course, there's also, the war chests of the Federal Reserve, for example, the Exchange Stabilization Fund, print a bunch of money and throw it at the market as a last-ditch effort, which we saw in 2020, 2021 happen with the market. The Exchange Stabilization Fund, which was created by the gold that was stolen from the people back in the 1930s under FDR. The rest of it went towards the IMF. The ESF was funded with all this, and then here we have this war chest, and they threw so much money at the markets trying to artificially prop it up alongside the plunge protection team after the market crash of 2020. But that market crash of 2020 was only stabilized by causing massive amounts of inflation and creating a veneer of recovery, which it never recovered from. We've never seen an actual recovery from 2020, just like we've never seen an end to the recession in, of course, 2008, 2009. It's just been papered over. So what we have then is a two recessions on top of each other that all implode at the same time from all the amount of manipulation and papering over that they try to do. And I really believe that leads to massive, massive poverty that I don't think people are ready for.
No, probably not. And it's going to get a whole lot worse. So, yes, they moved the goalposts on recession. You're in depressed growth. We never came out of 2008. We still have depressed growth. The definition of depression is depressed growth. So, yeah, we're in a depression.
Would you call it like an inflationary depression like Gregory Mannarino does? I know a lot of people have been passing that term around as of recently, because a lot of people say, hey, we are going into a recession. And I'm like, wait, this is a bit more historic than a recession.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have both sides of the coin. You're going to have a market collapse, but you're going to have things be unaffordable for the most people out there. And the thing is, the plunge protection team isn't coming to save you this time. When things get really, really bad, and I don't know when that's going to happen, but a video we did about less than a week ago with the EU rolling out their CBDC by October latest. And keep in mind, the Trump is going to go through the Fort Knox and go through the gold reserve simply not because he wants to be a good guy. They got to know where the bones are buried because they got to account for the discharge of this bankruptcy. So it goes like this. To take out the illusion of the dollars, say you got $250,000 in investments and you go into 2008 and the $250,000 goes down to 110,000 just to go back to 450,000. You think you're fine, but your Big Mac has gone from $1.52 up to $10 to $12. Your breakfast burrito has gone from $1.50, $2.50 up to $14. So when you equate these things, you're finding out that you're actually still losing. And people scratch their head. They wonder because they can't put it together. Remove the damn dollar as a price point because it's just the accounting measure of the actual money. You got to price things with the actual money. And you're going to see that in lock and step with the rise of the gold and silver price, if you were to fractionalize those down even to the gram level, you're going to find out that the same amount of grams or a fraction of a gram is buying that Big Mac, is buying that burrito. So if you can see this coming, why wouldn't you buy precious metals? Gold is now at an all-time high. People are watching this stuff. We told you about 2 weeks ago with all the metal coming out of the London markets to get back to the U.S. Why are they doing this? Again, checks and balances, find out where the bones are buried, settle the score, let shit fall. do the heavy lifting, reprice gold, go in a digital system. If you're not in gold, then you're just in trouble. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, I came across an old newspaper from when I was a kid in the '90s, and I'm looking through the prices on in the market section, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I mean, I remember it being that cheap, but I mean, every single thing was cheaper except a few things, and the only things that I found actually got cheaper were like TVs and useless stuff that doesn't actually help us in life.
Yeah, tech sector is getting cheaper, and that even adds to the inflation number, because the given inflation number is weighting, hedonics, subtraction, and substitution. So subtraction, if it's just it exposes too much, you get rid of it. Substitution, you like lobster and filet mignon, but then you hit a hard time, so you go to hot dogs and fish sticks. It's a push. What hedonics is for the pleasure of. So if you got an iPhone, right? You got an iPhone that cost $1,500 from year over year, but the current year of 2025 has a 20% brighter screen or processor. That $1,500 goes on the books for inflation. Yet, as far as GDP on a company bottom line, with Apple, they're going to take the $1,500 and they're going to ratchet it up by 20%. So the numbers are skewed, and it's just everything's coming here. So you got to get metal as fast as you can, because we don't know when this switch is going to be flicked. But with gold now pushing all-time highs, with banks now revaluing their high forecast for gold, and we've been saying it for a while, guess what? We were right. And it's not because we're geniuses. It's just we've been following this for so damn long. And I am entrenched in it, so I understand what it means. For someone that just doesn't maybe quite understand, fill out that information sheet so I can reach out to you and we can have a conversation and find something tailored to you. And I'll try to bring you up to speed, but you got to change your thinking. You got to change your thinking. You've been brainwashed. You've been lied to. And the dollar is not money. It's the accounting measure of actual money. And the world will see that again in very short order.
Yeah, unfortunately, very short order. And by the way, and to those that do understand but want to protect your money, there's also a place for you there as well, because a lot of people, no matter how awake they are, they haven't taken that step. Maybe it's their husband, maybe it's their wife, maybe it's their wife telling them, no, don't do that. We got to keep it with this institution that we know a lot about and all that kind of stuff because they have TV commercials, blah, 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 blah. My friends, I really wish that more people would understand how unbelievably dangerous it is in this environment with the coming digital system to not have your money protected. And I'm a big believer in the original wealth insurance that goes back millennia, which again is things like gold and silver. Of course, it's not only that. I think people should have their eggs in multiple baskets, but I do think that that is one of the most obvious examples of tried and true money, real money, not just what you the bank down the street calls money, digits on a screen, and very soon they'll all be digits on the screen, and you won't be able to escape from it. Especially with bail-in regimes, your money will be gone. It's not insured by the FDIC properly. I mean, the FDIC is bankrupt in itself. People are in for a rude awakening if they don't get prepared today. And what we're seeing out there with, like the old ones like Kmart and all that, the Hudson Bay Corporation in Canada is pretty much gone now. And by the way, that used to be the country. The country of Canada used to be the Hudson Bay Corporation. We're talking about basically a corporate entity that was an entire country and one of the most powerful in the world that got all the furs and everything for the royals and for the kings and the queens around the world. This is one of the oldest companies out there. That is pretty much done, and they're now using it to house homeless people in my hometown of Winnipeg. So just to give people an example of how far it's gone, not only have people been unable to buy things from that place, and then that place goes under, and then the employment's gone, but then on top of that, the people that can't afford those things are then housed in the old department stores under cheap living conditions, which unfortunately involves gangs and all sorts of dangers that come with that. It is the epitome of the demoralization of society, which Orwell says comes right before the collapse of society. And for that reason, being prepared is tantamount to you getting around what is certainly to come. So with that said, as Mark mentioned, call him, reach out to him. We have the link here. firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/. It has to be that exact link. It's in the description on Rumble and BitChute and other web places where we are on at World Alternative Media. You can buy physical gold, silver, platinum, or palladium. Put that gold in your hands. Put it in a vault. Put it in an IRA outside of that traditional IRA. And make sure to schedule through Mark, and you'll get an appointment for a free consultation and a complimentary investor package. let him know in the comments of that forum that you found him at World Alternative Media, or WAM, WAM. And I highly recommend people take that step today before it's too late. And unfortunately, we don't have an alarm clock that's going to go off right before it's too late. It's happening. It doesn't happen overnight, but one of these days it's going to be acknowledged. And once it's acknowledged, then that whole system goes down, and then they come in with their new system, and you're attached to the bank through digital IDs and through CBDCs. And good luck getting out once you're stuck in. So again, check that link in the description. As always, Mark, thanks for going into this with us. We have lots more coming up because the news surrounding silver is really crazy right now. I hope you check out that video that we do with Mark as well. And obviously, we're seeing a massive power shift take place worldwide, and it's our job to get you aware of it, and hopefully you follow up and talk to Mark after you see this video. So anyway, I appreciate it, Mark. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdsson and Mark Gonzalez signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
First line of defense right there.